Once upon a time, there lived a beautiful girl named Hannah. Hannah was an orphan girl who grew to be a good woman. Hannah had always considered herself lucky. She had a stable job as a secretary of an estate firm, a good friend she talks to, and a peaceful life. Every morning she woke up to the warmth of the sun streaming through her curtains, ready to take on the day with a smile. She had no enemies, no hidden worries, just a simple, happy existence. But life, as she would soon learn, had a way of shifting without warning. One evening, as she walked home from work, a strange fatigue settled over her. Her body felt heavier than usual, her legs dragging with each step. By the time she reached her apartment, a dull headache had crept in. She dismissed it as exhaustion, took a warm bath, and went straight to bed. By morning, the headache had worsened, accompanied by a fever that made her skin burn. Her muscles ached, her vision blurred, and every breath felt like a struggle. Concerned, her best friend insisted she visit the hospital. After a series of tests, the doctor gave a simple diagnosis: malaria. She was prescribed medication, advised to rest, and assured that she would recover in no time. And she did. Within days, her strength returned and the fever faded. But something else began, something far more unsettling. One morning, as she sat up in bed, a single strand of her thick black hair lay on her pillow. She frowned, brushed it away, and thought nothing of it. If only she knew the reality that is about to hit her. At first, Hannah thought nothing of it. A single strand of hair on her pillow, just a random occurrence. But the next morning, there were more. And the morning after that, even more. By the end of the week, she couldn't ignore it anymore. Each time she ran her fingers through her hair, strands slipped between them like dry leaves in the wind. Her once thick, jet-black hair was thinning before her eyes. Panic set in. She rushed back to the hospital, expecting a simple explanation. Maybe it was the malaria medication, or a temporary reaction to her illness? But every test came back normal. The doctors reassured her. It could be stress, or maybe a vitamin deficiency. Try supplements, eat well, and get some rest. Hannah nodded, but deep down, she knew they were wrong. This wasn't normal. Something was eating away at her, and no one could see it. As the days passed, her hair continued to fall, clogging the shower drain, covering her pillows, sticking to her clothes. The sight of her reflection, once a source of pride, now filled her with dread. One day, sitting on her bed, she felt a little dizzy and a wave of headache. She couldn't live with uncertainty. She demanded more tests, deeper, thorough examinations. A week later, she sat in the doctor's office, hands clenched in her lap. The doctor sighed, looking at her with something she didn't like. Pity eyes. "Hannah, I'm so sorry," he said gently. "The tests show it's cancer." Her world shattered. Hannah sat in silence, the doctor's words echoing in her head. Cancer. The word felt foreign, like it didn't belong to her. It belonged to people in sad hospital dramas, to strangers she read about, not to her. But the tests didn't lie. The disease was inside her, growing, spreading, waiting to consume her. The fight began immediately. Chemotherapy. The doctors told her it would be tough, but nothing could have prepared her for the reality of it. The nausea hit first, violent and unrelenting. Food lost its taste, and her once strong body grew frail. But the worst part, the part that shattered her the most, was losing her hair completely. One morning, she woke up to find her pillow covered in it. She ran to the mirror, hands shaking, and saw the bald patches forming on her scalp. She wept. Every strand that fell wasn't just hair, it was a piece of the woman she used to be. As the days passed, Hannah withdrew from the world. She ignored calls, avoided mirrors, and let the loneliness swallow her whole. She blamed herself for wasting time before now, for thinking she had forever. Now she was a ghost of her former self, trapped in a body that no longer felt like her own. She stopped looking forward to tomorrow. What was there to look forward to anyway? Hannah had stopped expecting anything from life. Each day felt the same, gray, heavy, and endless. The hospital walls were closing in on her, and she had made peace with fading away quietly. Then she met Daniel. She first noticed him when he walked into her hospital room unannounced, a bright smile on his face. "You look like someone who could use a terrible joke," he said. She stared at him unamused. "I'm not really in the mood." "Perfect," he grinned. "That means I have to try harder." Despite herself, Hannah smirked. She didn't know it then, but that small smile would be the first of many. Daniel is a very handsome guy, kind and honest. He was a volunteer at the hospital to help people who are sick, but he wasn't like the others. He didn't offer empty sympathies or look at her with pity. He spoke to her like she was whole, like she was still Hannah. And somehow, his presence started to chip away at the darkness that swallowed her. One evening, he convinced her to step outside. They sat in silence, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant shades of gold and crimson. "See," he said, "the world is still beautiful." Days turned into weeks, and Daniel became her escape. He took her to the beach, where they let the waves kiss their feet. He made her dance in the rain, laughing like a child. For the first time in months, Hannah felt something unfamiliar. She felt alive. Hannah knew. She could feel it in her bones, in the way her body grew weaker with each passing day. The doctors didn't have to say it. Her time was slipping away. But for the first time since her diagnosis, she wasn't afraid. She had spent too long mourning a life she thought she lost, only to realize she still had time to live. And so she did. In the last 3 months of her life, she embraced every moment. She laughed until tears ran down her face. She held her loved ones closer. She let Daniel take her on small adventures, the kind she once overlooked. They watched sunrises with warm coffee in their hands, counted stars on sleepless nights, and danced to music only they could hear. She didn't waste time asking, "Why me?" anymore. Instead, she whispered, "Thank you for letting me feel this." Then, on a quiet evening, surrounded by love, Hannah took her final breath. Daniel sat beside her, holding her fragile hand in his. Her lips curled into a soft smile as she whispered her last words. "I finally lived, and I am not afraid to go." The world felt heavier as she left it, but Daniel's eyes dropped in tears. He simply looked up at the sky where the stars shone a little brighter. She wasn't gone. Not really. She lived on, in every sunset, every crashing wave, and every laugh that echoed in the wind. Hannah left happily not because she didn't fight for her life, but because she lived every moment knowing that she lived with the ones she loved. This story is dedicated to people who are on this verge. Just know that every second counts. Live it through if you have a small time, and fight if you have a fighting chance. But always remember the strength you have within and knowing that you lived without regrets. Every second you breathe, every moment you cherish, is a testament to your resilience. Whether you fight with all you have or choose to embrace the time you have left, know that your journey is one of immense bravery. You are not alone, you are loved, and you will never be forgotten. Live fully. Love deeply. Fight fiercely. Dear viewers, what do you think about this story? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and share it with friends. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest updates. Thanks, and see you in the next video. Bye!